A very good morning to all my dear students. We are on to the industrial pharmacy first. Dear students, we are on to the liquid orals. And in our very first lecture, we had gone through all the general details associated with the liquid orals, their advantages, disadvantages, what the liquid orals are, what are their definitions. Then further we had gone through the solution, then we had gone through the syrups, and in last lecture, we had gone through the elixirs, right? So the details associated with the elixir, their classification, their advantages, their disadvantages, components of the elixirs, the flavors, colors, preservatives, the methods of preparation, the packaging of the elixirs, all these we already saw in our previous lecture. We had already begun with the new topic which is said to be the emulsion, and while studying the emulsion we had gone through the introductory details, the different types of the emulsions, the definition of the emulsions, right? So all these we already saw. We saw what is the difference between the macro emulsion, nano emulsion, micro emulsion. We saw different theories behind the process of emulsification, like say viscosity theory, wedge theory, film theory, adsorption theory. What these are, what are their details, this already we had gone through. And we were ended our last lecture with our discussion onto the comparison between the emulsion, microemulsion and nano emulsions are concerned. So we was discussing that as we move from emulsion to microemulsion to the nano emulsion, there is a continuous increase into the transparency, or as we will move from nano to micro to emulsion, the turbidity that will goes on increasing. This is because of what? This is because of the particle size. The particle size is very small in case of the nano emulsion, then that of the micro, then that of the emulsions. Now if you'll see the types of an emulsions, there are two different types that already we saw. That is the OW type, WO type. OW oil in water type, WO that is the water in oil type. OW in which oil is in the dispersed phase, water is into the continuous phase. WO the water is into the dispersed phase and oil is into the continuous phase. Now, microemulsion is what? Let's say, for example, for OW microemulsion, we have to start with the WO type of emulsion using a low HLB number of the surfactants. Now, what this HLB scale, what are these number, what they will indicate, we will going to come to know through our subsequent lectures. At this moment, you have to consider that, you have to understand that HLB, it is a kind of scale which will be having values from 0 to 18. And in that, suppose if we are going on selecting the lower values, like say the 3, 4 accordingly, so that will be useful in order to begin with the WO type of emulsion. Then we can go for the OW type of emulsion. Now to this WO type of emulsion, an aqueous solution of high HLB number surfactant is added. What we have to do? We have to begin with the low HLB number. Then to this emulsion, an aqueous solution of high HLB number is of surfactant is added. While stirring, that continuous stirring is carried out, at a certain amount of addition, a gel phase is produced. And further addition of the surfactant solution that will lead to the inversion into OW type of emulsion. Let us say we have to begin, we had started with the WO type of emulsion with the low HLB value, and when we are adding the high HLB value, it will passes through the gel phase and then it will get converted instead from WO type of emulsion, it will get converted into the OW type of emulsion. For WO microemulsion, one start with the OW emulsion stabilized with an ionic or non-ionic surfactant. Right? Again, it is in contrary to the previous one. First, we had started WO, we had converted into the OW. Now we are starting OW and we are going to be converting into the WO type of emulsion. This emulsion is titrated with a co-surfactant and the emulsion passes through a gel phase, after which further addition of co-surfactant results in the production of WO microemulsion. Isn't it? Very simple to understand. You have to keep in your mind either one, then you can go for the very clear with the description of the another one. What will be the uses of pharmaceutical emulsions? Now, if we will see uses, the uses might be in the systemic use that could be taken by oral use, by oral route, and by the for the systemic use. Now, orally these are taken and these are given by means of masking the unpleasant flavor, because it is very difficult to take the preparations with the unpleasant taste, unpleasant flavor, unpleasant odor by the oral route. Or if it is bitter, if it is acrid, then it is very necessary to go for masking this bitter and acrid taste. So it is to be taken by the systemic use by masking the unpleasant flavors. Then the nutritions, like say the triglycerides, the vegetable oils, they can be given. The emulsions, these are given by the parenteral administration. The parenterally, we are giving the nutrition, like say the triglycerides. We can carry out the delivery of drugs which are poorly soluble in water by the emulsions, by the parenteral administration of the emulsions. We can go for site directed delivery of the drugs by using the emulsion by the parenteral route, and the emulsion that can be given in the form of the depot preparations in order to release the drug over a period of time, that is said to be the delayed release, and it is to be given by the intramuscular route. Emulsions can be used locally onto the skin. These emulsions may be of OW type or WO type, which can be applied or rubbed, and as they are viscous in nature, they will offer the emollient property. These are having the greasy property that will enhance its acceptability. The radio opaque emulsions, these are also given, which have long been used as contrast media in conventional X-ray examinations. In order to examine, in order to view the internal organs, these radio opaque emulsions can be given as a contrast media. The examples of the emulsions as a drug delivery system, we can give the diazepam emulsion that will eliminate pain due to crystallization of a solubilized drug following dilution in the bloodstream. We can give the vegetable oils, the delivery of substrates high in metabolic energy. They can be given by this way. Propofol, the liquid anesthetic dissolved in emulsified oils, and it has to be given by parenteral route. Fluorocarbons, artificial blood substituents, these can be given by the emulsion form. Let us go through the advantages of the emulsions. What are the advantages? the unpalatable oils that can be administered in palatable form. As such, it is very difficult to consume the oil by the oral route. But if we will modify it, but if we will develop it in the emulsion form, then it is very easily administered. Unpalatable oil soluble drugs can be administered in palatable form. The drugs which are oil soluble, that are difficult to give by solution or by elixirs, isn't it? So in that case, the last option which will remain, that is the emulsion. So unpalatable oil soluble drugs that can be dissolved into the oils and that can be administered in the form of the emulsion, which is in the palatable form. The aqueous phase is easily flavored. We can add the desired flavor into the aqueous phase. The oily sensation is easily removed. In the form of emulsion, we cannot have the oily sensation, the oily properties. The rate of absorption is increased. As such, the oil that will get absorbed less. But if we are giving it in the form of emulsion, that will be increased. The absorption will be increased. It is possible to include two incompatible ingredients, one in each phase of the emulsion. Let's say, for example, in liquid form, in solution form, if we could not able to give the two different solutes, then the emulsion is the best way. One has to be dissolved into the aqueous phase, one has to be dissolved into the oily phase, then the emulsification has to be added, the two different phases that will be made miscible with each other in the form of the emulsion which can be administered. What will be the disadvantages? The disadvantage will be shake well before use, isn't it? For solution, the contents, the ingredients that are uniformly distributed, these are into the homogeneous state. But in case of emulsion, these will get separated upon storage. So that will require the shaking. So preparations need to be shaken well before use. A measuring device is needed for administration. This is common to all kinds of the liquid orals. Without measuring devices, we cannot go for prediction of the dose. A degree of technical accuracy is needed to measure a dose. Right? When we are shaking, it will lead to the foam generation. So if the foam is there, then it is very difficult to measure the required amount of volume, right? Because the foam that will accumulate, or it will get some volume of the dose. So we require the high degree of accuracy during the measurement of the dose. Storage conditions may affect the stability. Extreme high temperature, extreme low temperature, that will lead to the affecting the stability. It is liable to the microbial contamination which can lead to cracking. The water that is subjected to the process of contamination by the microorganisms, which will lead to the cracking of the emulsion. Identification test for the emulsion. How we can go for identifying the emulsions? At least two tests that should be done to reach a conclusive decision about the identity of the emulsion. What type of emulsion it is, whether it is OW or WO type of emulsion. So there are 5 different tests which could be performed in order to confirm the type of an emulsion, and at least out of these 5, the 2 need to be confirmed. 2 need to be done in order to confirm the particular type of an emulsion. So these tests are the dilution test, conductivity test, cobalt chloride test, dissolvability test, and the fluorescence test. Let's go through the dilution test. Now, see, for example, if there is a OW type of emulsion. Now, if we are going to be diluting this with the water, as the water that is in the continuous phase, So no phase change that will occur in such a type of emulsion. Whereas if we are diluting it with oily phase, that will lead to the phase change, right? So you can see in this particular diagram, the first one and the second one. Second one is the WO type of emulsion. And if this type of emulsion that is going to be diluted with the oil, as oil that is in the continuous phase, so there is no phase change. And if we are going to be diluting it with the water, as water is in the dispersed phase, so that will lead to the phase change. Now in this test, the emulsion is diluted with either oil or water. Oil water emulsion can easily be diluted with an aqueous solvent, whereas WO emulsion can be diluted with oily liquid. Second is the conductivity test. Now we know that if we see the oils and the water that is the good conductor of electricity, right? So we just have to place the two different electrodes into the emulsion. And if the emulsion is a kind of OW type of emulsion, if it is connected with the battery, and if the key is switched on at that time, suppose if you will find that the bulb that will glows, that means what? The current is going to be circulated through this. And when this would be possible? This would be possible only when the continuous phase is such which will be having conductor of electricity. And among oil and water, already we told that water is the good conductor of electricity. So because the water is in the continuous phase, the electric current had been passed that will lead to the glowing of the bulb. So when there is a glowing of the bulb, at that time we can confirm that it is the OW type of emulsion. Whereas if it is the WO type of emulsion, then in that case the bulb will not glow. In case of OW emulsion, this test will be positive as the water is in the external phase. And assembly consisting of a pair of electrodes connected to a lamp is deep into an emulsion. So when it is the WO type of emulsion, the lamp glows. When it is OW type of emulsion, the lamp will not glow. Isn't it? Is it clear? Is it true? If it is the WO type of emulsion, that will lead to the glowing of the lamp. If it is the WO type of emulsion, that will lead to the not glowing of the lamp. Is it true? No, this is true, right? So if it is the WO type of emulsion, that will lead to no glowing of the lamp, whereas if it is the OW type of emulsion, that only leads to the glowing of the lamp. That is the conductivity test. Next is the dye solubility test. An emulsion is mixed with a water soluble dye such as amaranth and observed under the microscope. The nature of dye is such that it is soluble in water, right? So we had the OW type of emulsion, the water that is in the continuous phase. And if the continuous phase that will appears red, then it means that the emulsion is OW type. As water is the external phase, water is in the continuous phase, and the dye will dissolve in it to give a red color. Whereas suppose if the scattered globules they will appear red and continuous phase that is colorless, it means what? It means the water that will remains into the dispersed phase, whereas the oil that remains into the continuous phase. So amaranth that is solubilized into the water, it is insoluble in case of the oily phase. So as continuous there is a colorless appearance, that means it is the WO type of emulsion. Cobalt chloride test. Cobalt chloride, the test that will consist of the preparation of a solution of a cobalt chloride in which the filter paper that is going to be dipped, then this filter paper that is to be dried. If it turns from blue to pink, that will indicate that the emulsion is OW type. So this dried filter paper we need to add into the emulsion type. We don't know what type of emulsion, but suppose if we had added the cobalt chloride paper into a solution, and if the color change that we had found that if it is from blue to pink, this will indicate that it is the OW type of emulsion. If there is no color change occur, it will indicate that the emulsion is the WO type of emulsion, because the change in color that is brought about by the water, by the continuous phase, by the aqueous phase. Whereas in case of WO type, the water is in the dispersed phase, oil is in the continuous phase, so this oil is not responsible for change in the color. It is the water. That's why it is the OW type of emulsion. Fluorescence test. Emulsions, they will be exposed to the ultraviolet radiations. If it shows only spotty fluorescence, then it is the OW type of emulsion, because the oils, these will offer the fluorescence. The water will not offer the fluorescence. So if it is spotty fluorescence, then it is the OW type. If it shows continuous fluorescence, that means under the microscope there is a presence of the WO type of emulsion, because the oil that is in the continuous phase, that is in the continuous phase. Next, let us see the summary that what we saw up till now as far as the emulsions are concerned. Introduction of emulsions that we saw its definition as per IP and USP. We saw the theories of the emulsification, the different types of emulsions, the uses of pharmaceutical emulsions, advantages, disadvantages, and the test for identification of the emulsions. Now let's go through the new topic which deals with that of the formulation of the emulsion, stability of the emulsions, excipients of the emulsions, methods of preparation of emulsions, the process of evaluation of an emulsion, packaging and labeling of the emulsions. Now, in order to study this particular topic, we have to go through the our lesson plan that will move through the formulation of emulsions, stability of emulsions, sedimentation and creaming, thermodynamic instability, that is coalescence and cracking, phase inversion, additives for the formulation of emulsions, additives for formulation of emulsions, methods of preparation and evaluation of emulsions, and last but not the least, packaging and labeling of the emulsions. Now, these details we have to see in our coming slides. So just before directly going to the formulation, let us understand that what will be the two different phases we will going to find in emulsion. We will find the aqueous phase, we will find the oily phase. The aqueous phase that will ensure the dosage requirement, consistency desired, oily phase that is the toxicity, desired consistency and the chemical compatibility. If we see the OW and WO type of emulsion, in case of OW type of emulsion, generally we will find 31 to 45% of the water, and in case of WO type of emulsions, we will find less than that of the 25% of the water. So we can accommodate the dispersed phase, say from 30 to 60%, but ideally if we see if the concentration of dispersed phase that will goes on increasing, or if it will goes beyond 74%, then that will lead to the process which is said to be the phase inversion. Let us say from OW to WO type, or from WO to OW type, vice versa. The formulation of an emulsion that will consist of the addition of different ingredients. In addition to the oily phase and aqueous phase, there is a need to add the emulsifying agents, auxiliary emulsifiers, antimicrobial preservatives, antioxidants, sweetening agent, and the flavoring agents. So the stability problems that are associated with the emulsions, the first is the flocculation, second is the creaming and sedimentation, third is the phase inversion, OW to WO, WO to OW, cracking and the coalescence, that is separation of the emulsions. What the flocculation is? Flocculation, the redispersible association of particle within an emulsion to form the larger aggregates. That is known to be the flocculation process. That means the individual particles, they will come together, they will form the larger aggregates, and upon shaking, these larger aggregates are easily redispersed. Precursors to the irreversible coalescence. So this will not allow the process of the coalescence. Differs from coalescence mainly in that interfacial film and individual droplets, they will remain intact. Creaming and sedimentation. Now the creaming and sedimentation, that will depends onto the gravitational force onto the dispersed phase. If the gravitational force is less, then in that case, suppose if the dispersed phase, that will get accumulate at the top, this is known as the creaming. And if the gravitational force is more onto the dispersed phase, so the dispersed globules, they will come, they will join, unite together, and they will form the layer at the bottom. This is said to be the sedimentation. So as the dispersed droplets are subjected to the gravity force, they tend to move upward or downward. If it is upward, creaming; if it is downward, sedimentation. Creaming usually happen in OW type of emulsions because the oils, they will be having less density than that of the water, so it will float onto the surface of the water, that will lead to the creaming. Sedimentation usually happen in WO type of emulsion, right? Because this will goes on sedimenting because of the gravitational pull. Cracking and the coalescence, these are the again stability problem. There is a positive interfacial free energy IFE that will exist between the two phases. IFE is equal to interfacial tension multiplied by the surface area. IFE, that is directly proportional to that of the interfacial tension and the surface area. To enhance their stability, the dispersed droplets come closer to each other and fuse in an attempt to decrease the exposed surface area. So that means we need to have the globule size smaller one in order to reduce the process of the interfacial free energy and coalescence, subsequently the cracking processes. You can see how the process of coalescence that will occur, that will lead to the fusion of two or more droplets of the dispersed phase forming one droplet. The coalescence is an irreversible process and redispersion cannot be achieved by shaking. So it is very necessary in order to avoid the coalescence because of its irreversible nature. You can see in this diagrammatic representation, the two different globules, they will try to have contact with each other. This is the continuous phase and these are the dispersed globules. You can see they will try to come close with that of this larger globule, and there is a formation of the neck. This is said to be the neck groove. Then this will get adjusted, accumulated in this larger globule, so that will lead or that will complete the phenomena which is said to be the coalescence. Now you can see that when the coalescence of the particles will occur, that will lead to the phase separation, and this is totally irreversible process. Globule size, the smaller particle have slower creaming or sedimentation than the larger particles. Stable emulsions, they will require a maximum number of particle size in the range of 1 to 3 micrometer globules and as few as possible larger than the 15 micrometer diameter globules. So we can go for use of the homogenization process or homogenizers. in which the particles or the globule size that can be reduced by passing it through the small apertures that will lead to the increase in the rate of creaming and the sedimentation. Viscosity of the continuous phase. Increasing the viscosity of continuous phase that will reduce the creaming and the coalescence. Viscosity that can be enhanced by using viscosity enhancing agents. The high percentage of the oil in oil phase, that is the OW type of emulsion, that will offers the viscosity. Small particle size in the internal phase, high amount of solid fats in the oily phase. Use of the emulsifying agents. Forming interfacial film mechanical barrier which decreases the potential for coalescence. The surfactants may reduce the interfacial tension between the two phases, that is less important. Hydrocolloids, they will enhance the viscosity of the medium. Next is the storage temperature. The storage temperature, that is the extremes of temperature that can lead to an emulsion cracking. When water freezes leads to cracking, and increased temperature that will decreases the viscosity of the continuous phase and disrupts the integrity of the interfacial film. An increasing number of collisions between the droplets that will also occur, leading to increased creaming and cracking. So all these are the different details that are associated with the emulsions. Today we will stop at this particular point only. For phase inversion, we have to wait till our next lecture.